welcome to another video. In today's video, I am talking about my education, or the lack thereof, and how possibly if you are looking at having kids or have kids and education, these are some things that maybe you should avoid with your kids' education, and maybe there's some tips and tricks you can find in here as well, because I have looked into education quite a bit, as I actually have a relatively high IQ. Apparently it's like higher than like 85 to 90% of the people on earth. And this has been twice I've had administered IQ tests. I didn't just go online and one, they were about 12 or 13 years apart, so 14 or 15 I think, and then about 27 or 28-ish in there, okay? And they were pretty much identical. They came to the same conclusion, that I have a higher IQ, which we should distinct. There is IQ and there's education. Those are two separate things. So my IQ is very high, my education is very low. Okay, now how did this happen? First, I think the first mistake, well, first of all, how did I get a high IQ? I have a little hypothesis, possibly. When I was born, my parents were in the fish business. So we ate a lot of fish. Fish is brain food. I think it might, there had to have been some genetic things there and some environmental stimulation as well. But I think it quite possibly was the seafood. Now, that contributed to my high IQ. Okay, so then now with the, as far as the education is concerned, my education, I think the first mistake made was my birthday is December 24th. Okay, so that puts me into some kind of age bracket when it comes to starting school, and so that started me, I guess that started me late, okay? At an older age. I didn't start until I was older. So I think what would have been smarter would have been to start me a few months sooner, 6 months or whatever sooner. Or it would have been a whole year sooner, but it would have been 6 months earlier than the rest of the kids or thereabouts, right? So that was the first mistake, right? So all my research shows that kids can learn, literally, kids can learn in late stage pregnancy. So at some point, the pregnancy, the baby is learning. And you have to be really careful too, because you can knock the baby out bumping into stuff, okay? So it's a baby at some point, most definitely. I'm not trying to debate at what point that is, but I'm saying that you can literally educate the baby in the belly at a certain point, okay? So, and then it does not stop there. Babies are capable of language, of speech, or of communication before their vocal cords are capable. So people are teaching babies sign language. So a baby doesn't have to cry to communicate. A baby can sign language and say, I'm hungry, I gotta take a shit. Whatever the baby wants to say, it can sign language it. That's a thing, okay? So to start kids later because their birthday, bad idea. So start kids earlier. Okay, so then my mother was not college educated. Neither one of my parents were. They divorced. My mother married a guy who had a community college education. And he had a student that came from this, it was called a when I looked it up, like a teaching cooperative, a parents teaching cooperative. It was called Milk Creek Little School. And when my mom told her husband that she thought I was smart, this was his recommendation that I go to this school as a private school, okay? Now, that was a horrible idea, because on my research about this school, it seemed like its focus was parents homeschooling kids style, but now they've extended that into a place where their kids are getting the frickin' the other kids, you know, kids meeting kids and doing all that stuff, which homeschooling doesn't really take care of that social interaction, okay? This place was freaking bizarre, right? No math. Okay, now I should have been in some sort of engineering. That's where I should have been, you know, a private school focused on STEM, right? That's where I should have been put, right? Not in a damn hippie school. Look, weaving, music, stuff, which, you know, is what it is, and reading circles, cooking, cool. But there was no math. There was no social studies. There was no history. There was no engineering, right? There was no education, really, because it wasn't a school teaching. It was parents that taught their kids, bringing their kids to a place to get social interaction. And one of those kids excelled so much that she got noticed by my mother's husband that worked in a community college. And now this young girl that was super young. But see, that whole story goes from parents teaching their children and being very engaged from a very young age and teaching kids all that they possibly can. I don't have memories of my parents. I mean, now maybe before memories really start kicking in, maybe there's a lot of stuff, but I literally have like one memory when I went to live with my dad after this whole second grade, school, basically nightmare situation. I've told this in a whole video, and my early videos are a little mess. I'll try to find it and link the whole story to this video. If it even exists, it might have got deleted. Hopefully not. But I made a whole video about just that school, okay? So I don't want to go down that entire thing, but let's just say I didn't learn anything. They tested me after this period, and there was also a PTSD period right before this where my mom's dad shot my dad right in front of me in a fight, okay? Don't have that happen to your kids. Super not good for educational purposes, all right? So, and at that point, after this second grade, I didn't learn anything, so now I was living with my mom, now I'm living with my dad. Don't ever remember any kind of my mom, like sitting down with me and, hey, let's read, or hey, let's do math. Don't have any memories like that. One memory of flashcards for spelling, I believe, with my dad, early when I got to living with him. But that was like literally once. So I was totally now started late, because they waited to start me because of the school and age and all that. Now, I'm back into the second grade again because I went to the second grade that I didn't learn anything from. Okay, so now I'm in this other school, and I'm 6'4", right? So I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? In the fourth grade, halfway through the year, arbitrarily, I just get put in the fifth grade, right? So I was in the fourth grade, and now I'm in the fifth grade. So everything you learn in that time, poof, nobody was like, you'd think you're trying to accelerate your kid back into their normal space. There would be a lot of like parents teaching after school. No, nobody was teaching me anything. I just missed it all. Multiplication tables, spelling, just, So now I've got a whole year. Then I got like a year and a half, and there was like 2 or 3 schools maybe in that time, but then mainly one school. And now I'm up into a different grade, and I literally never got good grades again, right? So this is the main reason. It really goes back to the original, and the things in brains that make people smart, like your ability to even have a high IQ, like from 0 or maybe a little before 0 to 2 years old, that's when those develop. So if you didn't develop those in that time, then you are IQ locked and just can't get any freaking smarter, right? But if you've unlocked that in those early years, that's what I'm trying to get a point. This main point of this whole video is how important the first years of your child's education is. So important. Go on TED Talks and look at the little kids that are like scientists already at like 7. I might be exaggerating this, but trust me, there's so much potential in small children that's just not happening. And it's all has to start early, because the brain develops, gets into the freaking development, and you're at 2, your potential. So education not starting until you're 5, So if you don't have parents that are extremely engaged in their children's education, if that's just not a part of your family's thing, education and being smart and all that, it's never going to break the cycle of unintelligence, right? So, and then, as far as my, after that being jumped up, I never had an easy time in school. I still to this day cannot spell typing things out takes so long, because my spelling is so bad in some cases. My vocabulary is okay, but my spelling is absolutely horrible. So I'm spelling away so bad a lot of the times, spell check doesn't even know what I'm talking about, right? So, and your early spelling, all that, people talk about what's your pronouns and all this. I'm like, what's a fucking pronoun? I don't even know what that is. No idea. All these English things, I went to learn Spanish at one point, and the Spanish teacher is talking about pronouns and nouns and adjectives, and I might know what an adjective is. That's action word maybe, right? So I just don't even know English well enough to learn another freaking language, right? And it's extremely frustrating as a person with a high IQ that I was given such an absolute shit education, mainly because of this decision that this private school that was really focused towards parents who were educating their own children, that I was put there. Literally. Don't do that to your kids. All right. If you like my life stories, which you should, because I'm a fascinating individual, you should subscribe and hit like, and have a great day. Peace.